So in this video, I'm going to hopefully have the transom completely put in and maybe start working on putting the top back on the boat. I want to put the top back on the boat before I put the stringers and runners in, because the boat isn't being held in place into its original form. It's kind of like sitting out like this a bit. So the bottom part of the boat isn't in its true form, I guess. So I'm gonna put the top back on, bring the sides back together. It'll just bring the whole entire boat back into shape. Then I can properly install the stringers and runners so that they will hold to the original shape of the hull. So right now I'm gonna just show you a little bit of the inside of the boat. I actually re-drilled all the holes in the transom. In a few videos before I had filled them in the back, but only some of the holes were filled all the way through. And when I install the transom, I'm gonna just put all the filler in the holes and then put the transom on, and then it will all squeeze out the back. As well, I'm gonna take my grinder and just take down this lip so that the new floor will be installed and it will fit properly. I already took off, I didn't film this, but I already took off the old fiberglass I was holding the old stringers and runners in. So when I glass in the new stringers and runners, it will have a better material, or it will have a better base for the new fiberglass matting to stick to. That is what I'm hoping to do this video, and we'll see how far I get. Okay, so the transom is put together. It's 1 inch thick, and that's what the original transom was. I just put some screws in through this side. I couldn't find screws that were shorter than 1.25 inches. So whenever this is all dried, I'll shave the point off of them. Yeah, what I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna probably take my grinder and clean up this lip. But right now, I'm going to move on to getting this transom properly shaped to put back in the boat and hopefully get it glassed in today. Okay, so I have the transom all cut out to size, and it fits right in there. So I'm gonna take some fiberglass resin, chopped fibers, and wood flour, mix that all up and get some good putty going. I'm gonna put it behind the transom, and then I'm gonna clamp it down. I'm gonna drill a hole through here and here, and then clamp the transom to the back here. Then I'm gonna take the other C-clamps that I bought, clamp them on the top. I think that should work well. Actually, before I do all that, I'm going to clean up my mess. I'm gonna close the doors actually and turn the heater back on because it's getting kind of cold. So let's get to that. Okay, so I have the whole transom mocked up as it should be when I'm gonna install it. So the thing is, the transom has a little bit of a warp to it. So when I'm clamping down just the top, the bottom right corner kind of like sticks out a little bit, and I couldn't figure out how to get even pressure along the whole entire transom because of that warp. I had to rig something up to straighten that warp out so that when it's dry, the transom will be straight. The warp wasn't bad, but it was big enough that there was like still like a 1/4 inch gap on the bottom right corner of the transom. Came up with this idea. So it looks a little funky. These are my struts. So basically I have them clamped down, and it's providing even pressure along this side. And this was the side that was warped. And here's another strut. And I just have these two clamps holding this on, so it's even pressure on the top. And then I took my eye bolts and I drilled them through the drain holes, and I have them just through on this side. So those are providing clamping pressure through here, and at least the center of the transom's clamped nicely. So this is the side that had the 1/4 inch gap down here, and the only way to get that 1/4 inch gap closed was to put pulling pressure on the top of this strut. So I took my ratchet strap. This is the only place I could really strap it to. And then there's actually not a lot of pressure on here, but just enough pressure to allow that pivoting motion to close that gap down there. So by just doing that, that was enough to get the gap on the bottom plate of the transom to close. So after all that, the transom is now straight, I guess you could say. There's no gaps. The whole transom has clamping pressure evenly along the top and bottom. I haven't fiberglassed it yet. So now I have to take this all apart, mix up some fiberglass resin, and then after that I'm gonna put it all back together, and it's gonna look like this. So I wanted to do this beforehand, so I knew what it would look like, just a quick mock-up of what I was doing, so I'm not trying to brainstorm while the resin is drying. So I'm just gonna mix up a batch of fiberglass putty. Let's take it apart and finally get this transom installed. All right. All right, so the transom is in. Here we have it. Filled the corners up with the putty that I made, and the bottom. I have enough pressure in here so that the bottom of the transom board is pressing tightly against the bottom. And so it looks good so far. Once it's dry and I take it all off, I am still going to be putting in that 2x6 for support along here. I'm also filling in each corner as well. So that will help a little bit. And then that 2x6 will run across, and then I will fiberglass it into each side. So that will also add a lot of extra support. So just get this lined up on my line I drew. So I got this little contraption. Just gonna use this to clamp the 2x6 in place while I drill the holes. So that's where I need it. So let me just tighten that up. So this is where it will be, and I'm just gonna drill the holes on this side. Didn't go through, so that's great. All right, now I'm gonna take this off. Gonna mix up some fiberglass putty, and I'll throw this piece in. All right, so the 2x6 is in. I don't think I'll have the top on this video because there's a few things that I have to do to the top before I install it. So I'll just save that for another video. So my plan was just to fiberglass around the 2x6 and get that all in. But I've changed my plan, and I'm not gonna actually fiberglass right now. I wanna get the floor, I wanna get the stringers and runners and the floor put in first. And I wanna fiberglass that all in together. So instead of fiberglassing this right now, I'm just gonna wait. Going forward, my plan now is to temporarily put the top back on the boat, put the stringers and runners in, and fiberglass them to the hull, let that dry, screw the floor down, and then take the top back off, and then I'm going to fiberglass the transom and the floor in all together, so it's all like done at the same time. So thank you everyone for watching. Thank you guys for all the comments. It's been fun so far. If you want to stay up to date with the project, don't forget to like and subscribe. I appreciate you guys all, and I will see you guys in the next video. Have a good one.